Hey there everyone, welcome to Ant's Reptile Colony. I'm Ant and I'm without a reptile today because I'm filming away from home, but we shall soldier on nonetheless and we'll be giving you an intro about Venom. If you thought this video was going to be about this Venom, sorry, it's not going to be about that one. We're actually talking about this Venom, the Venom that comes from snakes. And as is required by the powers that be across the globe in science and internet, whenever we speak about Venom, we also need to talk about poison and what the difference between the two is. In order to appease these beings and these powers that be, I shall do just that. To get things started, both venom and poison are toxins, and the difference between them is the method of delivery. Venom needs to get injected into the bloodstream directly in order for it to take effect. Ways in which venom can be injected include through fangs such as snakes or through stingers such as in scorpions and bees, while as poison doesn't. Poison can be ingested or just come into contact with you, like on your skin or in your eyes or something like that, to have an effect. With that being said, then, I have known people to have drunk snake venom and been fine. I mean, you can drink it and you won't have an effect on you, but I do not recommend it. I actually highly recommend not drinking venom, because if you happen to have some cuts in your mouth or perhaps a stomach ulcer or something along those lines, then that venom has now found a straight way into your bloodstream and you will get the full effect of it as if you have been envenomated by the snake itself. So in case you have a surprise ulcer, I wouldn't say you should drink venom. Now that the definition between the two is out the way, when the general public tend to speak about an animal being poisonous or a reptile being poisonous, they usually mean venomous, alright, because they have the venom stored in their venom glands. That in snakes, in this case, are located behind the eyes, and in venomous lizards it is along the bottom jaw. This is not to say that reptiles are either venomous or poisonous, because there are some cases of reptiles that are both venomous and poisonous. An example of this is the Asian tiger snake. Asian tiger snakes are both venomous and poisonous, in the sense that they have venom located in venom glands behind their eyes that they inject through their ducts, through the fangs, into their prey. They also have poison glands at the back of their necks, which they can release poison from, whether they're feeling threatened or if they're being predated upon. How they do this is that the tiger snakes prey on poisonous frogs, which once ingested, they absorb and store the toxins, the poisons from the frogs in those poison glands, giving the predator or the threat a real bad day should they come into contact with that. But not all venoms are made equal. Some venoms are really lethal or really potent, while others are a lot less potent. And the way that we do this is by using the LD50 test. This test is used to determine the potency of, well, any toxin, whether it's herbicide, whether it's venom, anything like that. In our case, we're going to be talking about venom. LD50 stands for the lethal medium 50%, and the LD being the lethal dose. How it works with snakes is that this test is done on mice, and they want to find out what dosage of venom is required to kill 50% of this population of mice. That number is then measured in milligrams per kilogram, and the lower the number, the more lethal the venom is. Even though this is the standard method to measure the potency or the lethality of a toxin, it is still slightly debated, or there are some people that disagree with the method. That is because humans and mice are different organisms. Our anatomy and physiology differ. So it's not to say that venom will affect mice and humans in the same way. It may affect mice in one way and humans in another, whether it's less effective on us than mice or more effective on us than mice. But unfortunately, the only way to determine how effective a venom is on a human is to test it on humans, and that is definitely frowned upon in most of the world, in almost all the world, I'm sure, which is why they stick to using mice. Another view that people have is that if something is venomous and super lethal and it's going to kill you, does it matter how it's going to kill you, like how badly it's going to kill you? If you're dead, you're dead. How are you deader than dead? But in the end, this is still the standard method, it's the best one we have, and is the one that is agreed upon, and we will continue to use that until a better alternative is found. And just as not all venom is made equally, there are also different types of venom. There are three main types of venom, and they are cytotoxic, haemotoxic, and neurotoxic venoms. This is not to say that a particular snake species only has one type of venom. They like to mix and match their venoms and have a concoction, but there are many snakes usually have one type as the main type, or it's a mainly cytotoxic venom, although there will be maybe traces of other venoms as well. Getting into a little bit more detail, we're going to start off with cytotoxic venom. Cytotoxic venom affects the cells. It causes necrosis and rotting. It causes your flesh to decay and just slough off muscle as well. It almost turns liquidy. That is because on a cellular level, the cell membranes are actually bursting, causing the cell to die. The majority of deaths that occur through cytotoxic venom bites are through the secondary infections when people do not reach medical attention in time, which means that they might end up struggling to count to 10 on their fingers because they did not seek medical attention in time and the finger was needed to get amputated. In rare cases, they have had limb amputations because they really took a long time to get medical attention, and this is usually occurring in the more rural areas where hospitals are not nearby. If medical attention is received in time, all limbs and digits can be saved. The type of snakes to look out for that contain a cytotoxic venom include the puff adder, rhombic night adder, gaboon viper, and Mozambique spitting cobra. This second type of venom we're going to be looking at is neurotoxic venom. Neurotoxic venom affects the nervous system. It affects the way that your nerves are able to communicate with each other through the synapses, and when their communication is disrupted, that causes your muscles to not work and eventually lead to paralysis. So with that being said, the major cause of death through neurotoxic venom bites are cardiac arrest or respiratory failure, because the muscles that get your heart to pump, your diaphragm to expand and contract to get air in and out of your lungs, fail. The good news is, or if you want to call it good news, is that because it is due to a paralysis factor, the proper application of CPR or the use of a bag valve mask can prolong the life until someone gets proper medical attention. Of course, the quicker medical attention is received, the better, because then the venom has had less time to take effect and the repercussions are a lot less severe. Because even with the help of antivenom, it will save your life, but antivenom does not reverse the damage done by venom. It simply stops the venom from acting and neutralizes the venom. If you want to know more about antivenom and how that works, check out this card over here. The types of snakes that contain neurotoxic venom are black mambas, forest cobras, and cave cobras. Getting into our third and final type of venom, and that is haemotoxic venom. Haemotoxic venom affects the blood, either by causing it to not clot properly, having excessive bleeding, which is major internal bleeding, which eventually leads to blood pouring out of all your orifices such as your mouth, eyes, ears, and nose. The other end of the spectrum from haemotoxic venom is that it causes your blood to clot too well, which can lead to clots in your arteries by your heart, which can lead to cardiac arrests, or brain clots, which can lead to seizures or strokes. Neither is fun. Of course, with proper medical treatment, deaths are actually really low and your life will be saved. But you must get their treatment as quick as possible. Examples of snakes that contain a haemotoxic venom are the boomslang, the vine snake, and many types of rattlesnakes. So now that we've spoken about what types of venom you have and how they work, we want to look at what snake venom is used for. And in the case of snakes, the venom is used to immobilize and aid the digestion of prey, as I mentioned before. Snakes are not on a mission to exterminate the entire human race. If that was the case, I think we would be a lot less humans around than there are today, and overpopulation wouldn't be such a big issue. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I can pretty much guarantee that snakes are not hitmen to annihilate people. In fact, snakes do not see people as a prey item. We are not a prey source for these snakes. They would much rather use their venom on prey items that they can consume later and use that energy to replace the venom that they've now used. Because venom is very energetically expensive to produce for snakes, and they don't want to be just using it all willy-nilly. There have been many cases where people have been bitten but not envenomated. This is known as a dry bite, which leads us to believe that snakes are actually probably a lot smarter than we give them credit for, because they are then able to differentiate between a prey item and a non-prey item. But not only that, they are able to control the amount of venom that they inject per bite or every time they strike. Another way in which some snakes tend to use their venom is in a form of defense, namely for the spitting species of snake, such as the spitting cobra or the rinkels. They'll use their venom and spit it at you towards your eyes, in your face, cause an irritation, and give them a chance to escape. Again, snake venom is expensive, and snakes are not trying to knock as many names off the senses as possible. The next thought that came to me then is well, why is venom so lethal? If it's only to kill small little mice, why do snakes have venom that's strong enough for a couple drops to kill a full elephant? The reason is because it needs to be fast acting. The faster the prey item is immobilized, the less risk there is of the snake taking an injury during their encounter. The other theory, or the other reason that I think could be a possibility, is that predators and prey undergo what is known as an evolutionary arms race. Not arms like arms, but arms as in like weaponry type of things. And that is, you have a snake which produces a venom to kill or immobilize a prey item or prey species, in this case let's take a mouse. So the snake uses a certain amount of venom to inject into the mouse, which has a certain effect to immobilize that mouse. Of course, there will be, through just genetic mutations and genetic variation, there are some individuals of mice that are naturally more resistant to this snake's venom, and so the same amount of venom that will usually put out another mouse does not work as well on this one, and this mouse is, let's say, able to escape and survive the whole encounter. That mouse is then able to pass on those genes so that the next generation is also more resistant to snake venom, causing them to live, which fills the population of that species of mice with individuals that are more resistant or almost completely resistant to the snake's venom. The snake then has to develop a more potent venom in order to have the same effect on the mouse. So the snake gets a more potent venom, it's now killing the mice as it was before. Of course, with genetic variation again, there are going to be some individuals that are more resistant. So the cycle starts all over again and goes over and over and over. This does not happen overnight, of course. There's not going to have a snake one day biting a mouse, doesn't kill the mouse. Next day, the venom is 100 times more potent, that mouse is completely wiped out. Not how it works. This goes over many, many generations. So it could be hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of years for this process to take effect. It is very slow moving. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. I just realized in editing that the way that I explained the evolutionary arms race between the mice and the snakes could lead to a bit of a misunderstanding, as I didn't quite make myself clear enough, and that is more along the lines of what happens with the snake venom as opposed to what happens with the mice being immune. The mice immunity over generations is correct, but I mentioned that the snakes develop a more potent venom on their own, and that isn't exactly what I meant. They do not make a conscious decision to produce more potent venom. What actually happens is actually very similar to the method in which the mice develop immunity to the snake venom over time. And that is, within the different individuals of snakes within a species, some snakes will have a naturally more toxic venom or more potent venom than other individuals in the species or in the population. This means that the individuals that have a less potent venom are no longer able to immobilize the mice that have a higher immunity to the venom. Therefore, they are not able to get a good food intake, causing them to perish. Whereas those snakes that have a naturally more potent venom are still able to immobilize and consume the mice if they usually would, causing them to survive and pass on their genes. This, over time, then keeps producing snakes with more and more potent venom, until eventually, over many generations, the snakes that are left have a venom potency that is much higher than the snakes of generations before. This is how they develop more potent venom, just as the mice develop a higher natural immunity to that venom. And that is how the evolutionary arms race keeps going, as one keeps trying to beat the other. I hope that clears things up. If not, please let me know and I can explain a bit further. I just want to mention again, and I know I said it often and I've already said it in this video, that snakes are dangerous, they are capable of killing humans, but they are not out to get us. Snakes do not need to be killed by us out of fear. They need to rather be protected and admired, and that is what I am trying to promote. I'm trying to get people to understand snakes better, and that they are not something that needs to be killed for no real reason just because you don't understand them. Of course, snake venom has other uses besides just killing prey for the snakes, and as most of us would know, I'm sure, that the primary use of snake venom is to produce antivenom. Yes, antivenom is what I said, not antivenom, which is also a term used, but antivenin is actually the more correct term. Venom is also used in the medical industry to produce a variety of medical drugs, which are often used to treat things such as arthritis, blood pressure, thrombosis, and in some cases even cancer, which is pretty interesting, I thought.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, hit the like button, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment below. I always enjoy hearing from you. And until next time, remember, it's never too late to learn.